continue in a moment.
Friday. Your favorite stars are off in the most outrageous and exciting event on television. The all-new Battle of the Network Stars. And
We're fighting the clock.
Robert Stack tries to head off kidnappers minutes from their next victim. Strike Force.
Friday on ABC.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pod Stallions. I'm Brian, and with me as always to my left is Jason.
Hello everybody.
And we've got a very special episode of Pod Stallions today, not the Different Strokes very special episode type thing.
It's more the blossom.
Blossom, yeah. If I'd ever seen a blossom, I could figure that out. It is our 10th anniversary, not so much of the podcast, but of Pod Stallions itself. I started this site in April of 2006, a strapping 35-year-old at the time, a young boy. And I never actually expected to take it past 3 or 4 years. So it's shocking to be here. I don't want to give up. And it's more fun than it ever has been. So this is great. I've got a few things planned this month. I'm working on a new book announcement, some other things, and of course, Jason and I wanted to do a special podcast about it.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit like a blind date or a third wheel or the guy at the wedding with the corsage hanging out a little bit because we've been doing the show, we've been doing Pod Stallions for, this is what, episode 45 or something, 44
could be. I'm not 100%.
So,
yeah,
do the math. I mean, just about once a month every 5 weeks or so. How many is that? How many years is it?
We've been doing the podcast.
Yeah,
I think we've been at it for 3+ years now.
3+ years.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's only a chunk of what Plaid Stallions has been. And I think we should turn it over to me to, put my producer hat on and sort of interview you about it. And kind of start with that a little bit before we get into all the celebrations. So we've got we got a lot of stuff going on. We've got Kool and the Gang are going to show up.
That's right. Yeah.
They're going to do a set much later in the show, but they're on their way. They're stuck in traffic on the 405.
And I believe Ray J. Johnson canceled.
Bill Murray is somewhere in the neighborhood. He's been doing dishes.
That's with 3 R's and an E at the end. No relation.
He played a kickball game at the park across the street like an hour ago. So he's probably going to make his way down here and be on the show. And many, many other surprises. And if we can get them, if they don't get stuck in customs, Mom and Shantz are going to be here for this episode. They'll finally make it.
Classy.
So before we get to any of those shenanigans, let's talk about how this thing called Plaid Stallions came about. Did you have a vision and a man on a flaming pie came to you and said, you shall start, a task or something? Or how did it come about?
It was out of boredom. I'm sorry to say. It was a Saturday afternoon. I had a newborn, and I had been toying with an idea for a long time, and it was because I was, as you know, I'm an ardent Mego collector, and I'm also a bit of like a Mego, not to self-inflating, but a historian of sorts. I collect.
Oh, you can inflate.
I collect catalogs. I collect toy insider stuff from the 70s. I'm real fascinated with it. So I would buy these, these old toy industry magazines and these catalogs, and I would scan the Mego page, put it on the museum, and some of these are like 250-page publications, and I'd be like, there's a lot of really cool stuff in here, and in everything that I'm not using on the Mego Museum because it doesn't really make sense. And I kind of was, I think at one point one of the reasons I started it too was I found some really cool insider stuff for a toy line from the 80s. And I sent it 2 emails to 2 different websites about this toy line. It was Superpowers or something. Hey, do you guys want this stuff? And I never even got a reply. And I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just do my own thing. And you know, what is that? And I've also always been kind of a smartass. So the whole thing about Plaid Stallions, the name came up in high school. My friend found some old Eaton's catalogs at his house. There was the toy ones, but the fashion ones were way more fun for me as a teenager in the 80s. Right. And I had in my locker clippings from the old catalogs. I guess that's the first version of a blog I ever had, was my locker. And it was just kind of funny. And
well, let me just be first to say poo-poo to you, other site that didn't want this stuff, because look what it led to.
Well, I'm kind of grateful.
That's what I'm saying. It's a 10-year empire of you know, Plaid Stallions. But did it initially start with, you know, catalog pages that were non-Mego toys of the era, and then it moved into the fashion?
No, I think the first or second picture was fashion. And please don't go back and read those because they're really awful.
No, they're very funny, and that's one of the things that drew me.
I didn't really have a plan. I just thought I'd scan a picture every other day and put a caption or a memory, and then it just kind of ballooned. And eventually I think that caused me to buy the domain a year later.
Yeah. And
then I just started putting stuff up like Toys R Us news flyers, and then asking people for pictures of superhero mall appearances and anything that I was kind of interested in, and I couldn't find, you know, like if there was, you know, if I Googled Mego and I saw the Mego Museum, I think, well, I don't need to do anything here. But, you know, like I would Google Gabriel Lone Ranger, and there really wasn't any kind of, there used to be good sites, but I couldn't find any anymore. So I thought, well, I know a couple collectors. Let me ask them if they're interested in sending me photos and that sort of thing. And, you know, good people like Rob Chatlin and our pal Bill Frost.
Oh, yeah.
Were really instrumental in helping me build the site early on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
He's a Bill Frost. I'll say it again. He's the guy you want in your corner.
He actually gave me some of my first best pictures of rack toys. When
really?
I started getting fascinated with rack toys, he's like, oh, I collect those. And my inbox was just full of beautiful photos of AHI stuff I'd never heard of.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you know, I mean, not to say those two guys, there's been dozens and dozens of great people who I've either met or have, you know, stepped up and said, I love your site, let me help out over the years. And they're too many to name, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, and how do you think when did you sort of start to see it evolve, where it wasn't just like word of mouth, where it was becoming this, I mean, there aren't, as far as I can tell, there are some, like, you know, what's the one, 8 bits to Neptune or whatever the hell it's called, the one, 2 warps to Neptune.
Oh yeah, that's a good site.
That's kind of cool. That's a cool site. But there's not a lot that cater to all of the sort of areas that you do.
Yeah, I mean, some do other areas better than me because they're focused, and I'm just kind of all over the place. But you know, there's a lot of, like, I mean, there's great sites like Jason Liebig's Wishbook Web, where he just scans an entire Christmas catalog back to front, and I think that's really, really cool. I do not have the attention span to do that, so I'm glad he does.
But you've got that in conjunction with catalog pages, in conjunction with actual shots people send in, your own collection shots. You know, you've got catalog pages of people, you know, in fashion stuff. You've got the mall appearance thing, which is, I mean, that I think is what really, when I don't remember why I was looking around to begin with. I don't remember what specifically I was looking for that day, but I can tell you exactly where I was living and where I was sitting in the kitchen in the place I lived in Silver Lake. The laptop up, and I don't know what it was that led me to Plaid Stallions, and I was just drawn in, and I was just sat in front of the laptop for hours, and just because it was things these sense memories that hit me that I just forgot about, like Maul appearing, and I went, oh my god, wait, I that was a thing in the 70s, right? It wasn't just me that met Darth Vader. There were other things that went on too, and it started to unlock a lot of memories and doors and stuff. And then I think I eventually reached out to you to say, hey, man, you don't know me, but super cool site. You know, we seem like kindred spirits, whatever. You know, I said I have a company called Biff Bang Pow, and we make starting to make some stuff. And the first stuff that we made was the Big Lebowski and Flash Gordon figures. Well, at that time, if I'm not mistaken, it was pretty early on when the Flash Gordon figures hit. So that's probably around 2007.
It was 2007. I remember that.
2007? Okay.
Yeah, it was maybe 2007. Yeah, because it was very early on in the site. I remember that.
Okay,
and
so we've been chatting about useless information for 10 years, 11 years?
9 years, yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a while. So that was it, and then it was like I've always said, you know, all the time, these things are like these secret handshakes that you do with people, whether it's, you know, you overhear somebody mentions a band and you suddenly go, oh yeah, I saw that thing, or whatever, and that just, it's an icebreaker. It's just, but when you get more cult, you know, there's a movie I just watched the other night that I hadn't watched in years. I bet you know this movie. I'll bet you know this movie. You might not, but it's called Safe Men.
Safe Men? No, I don't think I do. Not by name.
Well, I can recommend it now, but it's called Safe Men, and the two leads are Sam Rockwell.
Oh, you've told me about this.
And the dude, the blonde kid from Everything. Oh, what's
the blonde kid from Everything?
You know, he's a Minnesota dude, but he lives in Minnesota. He doesn't stay out in the industry. You know who he is. Anyway, him and Sam Rockwell, and then, man, Paul Giamatti is in it. Michael Learned is in it. What's the dwarf fella on Game of Thrones?
Oh, Peter Dinklage.
He shows up in it. Harvey Firestein's in it. Mark Ruffalo's in it. All these faces that you see that become other, you know, that go to do other stuff in this one movie, and it's a very cult film. But what I say when I run into somebody that knows that film, they adore it. And it's just
I see.
God, you know that movie? And that's kind of what I think a lot of this stuff is. I think it's a lot of the stuff we talk about. You know, it's really flattering to hear people talk about listening to the show and saying, I had no interest in the topic that was listed. I really didn't care, but I gave it 5 minutes and it led to 10 or 15 or whatever. That's really cool to hear, because that means, you know, and this is all going to come together. I promise you. This ranting I'm going to do here is going to come together, because what that tells me is the audience that we're kind of speaking to, and the people that are interested or curious about such things, are still curious about such things or want to know more. If that's not quite in their, you know, wheelhouse, they'll try this, and oh yeah, well those guys thought it was cool, which is hugely flattering to us, which makes us feel like we have taste for the first times in our lives.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the things that shocks me is people write us and go, hey, thanks for turning me on to that movie. And you're like, oh, wow, I turned somebody onto a movie, you know?
Yeah, I mean, forgive me, people, but it was a very nice note from a male person, male gentleman, not a mail carrier, but a male human person. Not that a mail carrier can't be a male person as well, but you know what I mean.
I think we all get it.
So this man sent us a note that basically said, hey, you know, I saw that the episode was going to be Hitchhiker's Guide, and I listened to it, and then I went out and rented the TV series. I watched the entire series, and I've watched the movie and listened to the audio play, you know, like everything because of our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, thank you so much. I really dug the series. The movie was okay, but I really liked the series. Can't wait to see what you guys do next. That really kind of knocked me out, because
we turned a guy on to craft stuff, a guy I know, And he got really into collecting it. And I was like, so you grew up with this stuff? He goes, no, I never saw it as a kid.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to kind of feel responsible for something like that.
And kind of fun, too, because it's
kind of fun, too.
It's,
Totally.
It's not like we're hooking people on something bad. It's just fun stuff, so it's really cool.
That's our next show.
Get them hooked. First taste is free. Yeah.
First taste is free.
Yeah.
Tell your friends. No, but it kind of, it doesn't like, I'm not saying it adds pressure to us, but it's kind of like we want to come up with cool stuff that are going to keep people interested in listening and such. So the whole idea for this really, I think came mainly from Brian with the initial, hey, it's the 10-year thing.
Yeah.
I thought about it a bit. I had some ideas. I reached out to a couple of, long-time listeners as well. And I think we've come up with something that could be kind of interesting to talk about, and we'll see, because I think that most of the time, whatever it is we are talking about, we can keep it interesting, or God knows if it starts in one spot, by the time we're done...
It'll be somewhere else.
We will be completely someplace else. So you and I don't remember who suggested what first. If you said, hey, you want to try to... Because you were futzing around with microphones and stuff, if you were thinking about doing something... Or did I say, hey kid, let's do the show right now? How did it happen? To do the show?
To do the podcast.
Podcast.
I think we were having storied phone calls. And my wife used to say, there's two people that call. It's either you or my pal Sean. And she goes, well, I'll see you tomorrow. When she sees the number, because either way we end up yakking for hours. And I'm not a huge phone guy, believe it or not, with anyone else.
Right. Yeah.
So it's rare, but yeah, you and Sean get a lot of time. So I think we just were chatting about it, and then we got together and kind of we had a long conversation in my car, and you kind of said, and I think I just said, this should have been our show. We should have just taped this.
Yes.
Because that's the vibe we wanted. And we went, I would love to, I wish we had recorded that. It would have been creepy, but I wish we had recorded that conversation, just because I think it would have been a lot of fun to hear. But that was always the kind of vibe I wanted, was that you're sitting in the back seat and two guys are having an interesting conversation. And you want to butt in. And the greatest compliment I've heard from a couple of friends and some listeners is, yeah, I wanted to yell at you guys because you couldn't get the title of that movie. Or, just being able to relate. And that's a wonderful thing. I don't care if 10 people are listening. If they are relating, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. It's funny. It's like, it would never, I get the feeling with the people that do respond that way, or that maybe say things online and stuff. It's not like, got that wrong.
We have gotten those, though, too. They're
not those guys that you encounter. They're the people that listen to the show, that their reaction is kind of like, huh, great stuff. Kind of surprised you missed the one little thing. You go,
oh yeah,
that thing. That stuff we love, of course, because that's what it's in a conversation. And I think that's what we've talked about on the show, and certainly what you and I have talked about. I don't want to be sitting with a know-it-all, and I certainly have been accused of, being, an egotist or too smart. You think you're the smartest guy. Sometimes, most of the time, I am the smartest guy in the room. Yeah, and beat me up.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like, it's not an arrogance. If it levels on arrogance, where it's like, oh yeah, of course I knew that. And it's like, I don't ever want to reach that level. With the amount of information I know about anything, I always want there to be more stuff to learn about and go, shit, I didn't know that. In fact, something just came up in the realm of Star Wars, I think it was. Oh, I got it. Okay, it's nothing. But it's just a side thing. Did you hear the thing on anything recently about J.J. Abrams' inspiration for that character, Captain Phasma?
Yeah, actually, I watched the extras the other day. Yeah, Captain Phantasm, the ball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. And he's restoring the film.
I texted about 4 or 5 people, and they're like, yeah, I heard about it. Okay, well, I didn't. And it makes
Actually, you told me, but I did see it on the extras after.
Okay.
I didn't know that detail personally.
that shit makes me excited.
I love stuff like that, and you're right.
You know what my father always said, too?
What's
My
that?
father was... No, I'll get to something, this will make sense. You know, my father always said... He said many things, but one of the things he always said was, you know, if you're into something... Because he's a very smart man that knows about a lot of stuff, but he's obsessive about a dozen things or 10 things. He just, the Kennedys and, Vietnam, World War II, whatever. Like he's like Wikipedia. And then if you need him to fix a sink, we can fucking do that too, So that's just who that is. But so when he would see this start happening with me as a kid, getting into things and be obsessing, Dad, did you know? And I think out of semi-annoyance or just to be a nice dad, he'd say, don't ever get too cocky with the information that you accrue. Well, how smart you think you are, how much information you have. Don't ever get too cocky, because there's always someone right around the corner that knows something that you don't.
Yep.
And it keeps you humble. And it's it's been true, and I think that's why it's like I want to know more. There's so many more, that's, and I think that sums up the museum. Like, you just came up with something, or someone did. I know you had talked about it for years, but the New Avengers John Steed boxed figure in South Africa.
And we always thought it was Mego, and we learned out, we had to publish, wasn't done by Mego.
Wasn't done by Mego, but
Still
you found
cool.
it.
Yeah.
And, then the tag was, wow. Migo's still surprising us. There's still gems to be found.
Well, and still things to learn, and my dad was less tactful. It was more of a keep your mouth shut and you might learn something. But my
dad had a variation of that, which was keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut. And he didn't mean it like don't embarrass me. He meant just watch these people here. Just keep an eye on them. He was clearly paranoid. He thought the government was after him.
Oh.
But it's true. It's a great way to observe human nature. I'd rather observe than be observed. That's for sure.
The museum really taught me a lot too about collaboration, because Mego did so much, and there's so many variants, and if you didn't listen to other people, you're gonna meet a guy. There are guys in the museum who are Planet of the Apes only, and they know more about Planet of the Apes than I ever will.
Right.
So you let them have a voice on the museum. You let them write that page.
Right.
You let the Star Trek guy write the Star Trek page. You help out, you learn, but the Mego Museum was created by Scott Adams, but he was really the guy who started that kind of almost pre-Wikipedia vibe. Because when I contacted Scott originally, I was like, "Hey, I've got this, this, and this, and this, and I'll send you pictures."
Right.
And he was like, "Cool, here's my address," because we didn't have, he couldn't email a picture back then, right?
Electronic device.
Yes, I had to actually mail him photos. He would scan them, send them back. But this is how long. I've known Scott. The Mego Museum, by the way, is 20 years old this year.
Got out the mimeograph at the general store.
Yeah, we had to. Yeah,
while Becky was getting me a piece of gingham and some jerky.
I think I was having a phosphate.
So, not a bad segue. Speaking of the past,
yes,
I think what we should do for this episode is, in addition, we can jump around a bit, but, in no order, I think it would be fun to do our top 10 things that each of us miss from the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just put in a caveat on this, is that Jason and I are both pretty happy to be in the modern age. I'm not some things I really miss, but I would have to say a lot of things are better these days.
Oh yeah.
And
let's yeah.
So I don't want to. I just don't want it to turn into the cranky old guy.
No.
I still buy new records, as do you, and
Let's be let me just let me be clear. Parenthetically under that statement I just made, okay? But we're not Luddites. We don't hate technology.
Nope.
We love.
It'd be pretty weird to do that on a podcast.
None of that. None of that. This is going to be basic stuff that I think most people will kind of relate to and kind of go, oh yeah, shit, that is, and not in a like, I wish that Fleetwood Mac had made more records. It's not like that. Like, how come there's not Fleetwood? I'm trying to think of something that's like sort of, like I don't know. I mean,
I don't want to turn into that David Cross character we make fun of. The vinyl guy.
Just listen to it. It's so pure it hurts.
Yeah. TV is a nickname, and it's no friend of mine.
Is it a DAT player? DAT player? No, it's exactly it. It's like, in other words, I think that what I'm trying to get at is we can go, you know what? What was wrong with the styrofoam containers with McDonald's? I like those styrofoam containers, and I think they should bring them back. It's not like that.
I kind of want one of those.
Well, you could make ships out of them and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, they were kind of cool.
There's loads more stuff better now than there was then. It's just true. It's not just the good old days, but it is a simpler time. I don't mean simpler time like boys were boys and girls were girls. No, if anything, it was a more mixed up time than ever before in the 70s, where everybody was flying their flag. It wasn't simple in the sense of going down to the general store kind of thing. It just, I can't explain it, and we'll get to it in the thing, I think, but I swear, I stand by this. For me personally, understand, I have had highs, I've had lows. For me personally, my philosophy has always been keep moving.
Yeah.
It's keep on keeping on. Whatever it is, if it's not, your head came off, fell off, you got no legs, keep fucking moving, because whatever it is, it's going to be okay, and that's it. Doesn't mean you can't get nostalgic. Doesn't mean you can't go, oh man, this movie, or it can't hit you the same way, or whatever. So it's not that, but I will say that if someone asked me what would have been the forget a period you could go to with a time machine, but in your life, what was the coolest time? Like, you could go back right now. It would be 1975, 76, right up until about 82.
Yeah, but those were also, I think that a lot of people would say that because they're, 6 to 10 years old. And I think a lot of people, no matter what era they grew up in, 80s, 90s, 60s, they would say to you, I'd love to go back to that. Because it's a magic age. I went to Disney in 1977. I would love more photos of that.
Well, but I mean, I'm getting more specific. I'm not nailing it down to like one year or one.
Okay.
I'm saying that time was gold.
Yeah, it fascinates the hell out of me.
Was the best ever because, and again, but to be fair, I can also have the same conversation with another person who should remain nameless, and their answer would be, don't know. I really, I don't. And you'd go, did you watch cartoon? No, not really. I mean, there are some people that, that wasn't part of their childhood. They didn't go to the store to buy gum cards and do all that shit. But there's something about it, I think, I really do think that was the last kind of gasp of something akin to innocent. Now, I don't mean there wasn't horrible things going on. There weren't drugs and people getting murdered and, underage. I'm not saying that. But, we could go out on our bikes, until 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
My parents never knew where I went. They never worried.
Yeah.
There was one time I was out till like 11, and they read me the Riot Act, and they grounded me for a month. But I was making time with a lady named Wendy. If you're out there listening...
She's not.
I'll be at the corner of Hyacinth and Jesse.
You just made me laugh. I was once in a long car ride with my cousin, who's a couple years older than me, and we got on the topic of nostalgia. And he had absolutely no nostalgia for childhood.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, yeah, I had a model truck once. Like, he just...
Do you know that
he was 35 by the time he was 7, by the sounds of things.
I have an older brother that I can tell you right now, give me a pen, piece of paper, I can tell you the movies, the seminal films, not every single one, but the seminal films he took me to. I can tell you the car he was driving. I can tell you the high school buddy, because I was a kid. He was a high school kid that like took his young kid brother to go see Close Encounters or whatever. I can tell you the dude that went with us, and or the ladies that I would, try to charm from the back seat while he was on his date, when we go to movies and stuff, I can tell you that he has no recollection. He has
No kidding, eh? Just flushed it?
It means nothing to him. It means nothing to him. Flash Gordon is such a big thing in my life. He doesn't even know that, he took me the first time in his little red Honda, leaving the house up here, going down the hill, hitting the freeway. He doesn't remember ever seeing it. So it's just, it's a mechanism there, too, that's very different for certain people. So I guess I can start by saying that would be one of the things I would just kind of put out there and not, harp on it in a neo-political, neo-consumer, blah, blah, the world is what we're doing kind of, Orwellian way, but just trying to say that, just hanging out, just being outside. It seemed like on the weekends or the weeknights, I don't know if you'd call a kid, you'd kind of go hey, because there was no cell phone, so you just called the kid. Oh, is Mark home? Oh, yeah. Hey, do you want to hang out? Yeah, let's hang out. We'd hang out. And so me and this one kid, Mark Kulski, who I talked about before, we would make up shows.
Oh, yeah.
We would create the TV series of Star Wars in between Star Wars and Empire.
Oh, it did much of that.
Cool show.
Yeah.
That we swear some execs were hanging out in St. Paul near the house. It was called Daredevils, and there were these two guys that were movie stuntmen that ended up working detective cases on the side.
Oh,
yeah,
isn't that the Fall Guy?
Guess what aired 2 years later?
Yeah, the Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy.
So you sued?
So I sued. I got my 900-pound gorilla uncle of a lawyer and sued their pants off.
Clearly, Lee Majors was watching you.
I got brunch with Heather. What's her name?
Buckley.
So there's just that kind of thing about
Thomas.
Just, everything that's kind of going on, everything certainly in this country that you see, and depending on where you go, it's a nice little gated community. I don't freaking know anymore who is what or what is what. And I swear, if I had kids, I don't not kids. If I had kids, I would be so, cell phone, absolutely. And this time, whatever. You don't want to be a complete Nazi over the kids, but it's jeez, we never thought about such things.
No.
And I don't know if they just didn't happen, and they're happening more the past 30 years, or they happened and we didn't hear about it.
Well, we weren't allowed, you know what, I have kids, and I lament it, and I'm the one keeping them back, but play dates are insufferable, and things like that, but that's the way it is. It isn't that world, and
the freeform.
And you know what? A couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, some kids moved in on the street, and they're a little rough, and their folks look like you could probably buy weed off them, but they were always knocking on my kid's door, and I let them go play outside. Yeah, go run around, and my son would come in and go, the kid just for no reason punched me in the stomach.
What?
And I'd be like, well, and then I started thinking about it's lots of kids did that to me. He wasn't bullying him; he was just being an ass, And
I did it once.
I was kind of sitting there going, it's okay that he learns that some guys just will walk up to you and punch you in the stomach. maybe that's not he wasn't hurt, and he was wondering about the behavior. It was alien behavior to him. And I kind of was like, you know what? I think it's okay if he experiences a jerk. And this kid got in trouble a lot, and he watched. It was goofus and gallant.
Son.
Yeah, but eventually,
that's called the onset of puberty.
Yeah, and then what happened was
lashing out at everything.
This family disappeared in the middle of the night, and I was not upset about that. But it was my 70s childhood experiment with my kids. Yeah, go run around with them. Because, you ran into kids from the wrong side of the tracks. And
because, on our street, the middle part was okay. The end, on this end, the far left, it's getting down toward the freeway. Traffic's moving a little fast. You could ride your bike around the block on the sidewalk, but if you had to go up, and then the other end, every now and then you'd be hanging with your friends, and all of a sudden it literally was like you'd see a group of 2 or 3 kids that look like the kids in Raising Arizona. They throw some nuts at, like you just see these kids with dirt on their face and snot hanging out.
Yeah.
Just going, did they just come? I'm sorry. Are you from the past? Are you from the Great Depression? Because you're wearing, like, soup cans on your feet. And it was like, where did you just come from? Like, and you just thought they were, hungry for blood or something. And you just kind of started to move the kick the can game a little bit further down the street. But yeah, it was just that thing. And our bikes, like, there was a time too where once I hit, like, because my brother moved out of my parents' house right after high school. So when he was 19, he moved out of the house, moved to the duplex at my grandma's place. Now that was a couple miles where we lived, but I would bike over to this place. And I mean, I think about that now. I've been back and I've done the route, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust an 11-year-old on a bike crossing these major streets with these maniacs in Minnesota. Yeah, it's, but we're all here to tell the tale. So that's my number one. Hey, can you hear me still? Was that on your list?
What was the official title?
Just
Going Out?
Being outside all day.
No, I think because I kind of thought you might go after that, but I completely agree. And what's really funny is I had a conversation with my mom about it years ago, and she was like, yeah, your kids, like, I said, yeah, I had so many freedoms. I used to just go, I'm going out. I had a boundary, and, we lived on a cul-de-sac, so it wasn't so bad. But I used to go real far after a while, and my mom said, yeah, and you didn't have the freedoms I did, because she grew up downtown Toronto, and she would be riding the streetcar every day by herself, at 7.
See, and I'll bet that, when we say this, that most, I don't know what the cutoff is. I mean, I think if I talk to my father, growing up in the 40s, 50s, or early 50s, late 40s,
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have anything. But he was never fearful that some maniac was going to, they'd be too far from home and someone would, steal them or something. It depends on the area you're in, etc. But, I mean, I wonder when it sort of stopped and started to get weird that the kids could just be out on their bikes in the neighborhood doing their thing at night.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, I mean, if anything that we're going to talk about, I think that's the one that I'm in danger of sounding most like.
Yeah, I don't even get it, and I don't think I'm an expert on it, and I don't really want to receive.
Like, when I was a kid, we could walk to the moon and no one cared. I'm not going to be that asshole. All right, so what's your first one? I mean, this is in no order.
No order whatsoever. Although my number 10 is a great commenter, but number 1.
I can't stress this enough, and I know that I'm only talking to a couple people out there. This is our top 10 list of our experiences, what we think we miss the most from the 70s.
Well, no, I think we don't think, we just miss it the most. And I really want to hear what you guys have to say on the Facebook page, because it's interesting and it's a great conversation to be having. Here's mine, and you won't get this, but Dickie D's.
Was that like the Oshkosh sort of things, like dungarees?
No.
Oh wait, jeans?
Nope. This Dickie D's was a really local thing, but maybe you had something similar. Dickie D. This was a guy on a bicycle with bells, and he sold ice cream.
Oh, well, we had the ice cream man.
Yeah, we didn't have the ice cream man. We had guys on bicycles, and they had bells, and they had two things. Two things I loved: Dracula Delights, which I would kill to have again, which was a purple ice cream with vanilla and then blood inside. And you know what? It's really funny is just out of college, when I was maybe 22, 23, I go over to my buddy's place. He's living with his girlfriend, and he goes, he points at the girlfriend and goes, her uncle owns Dickie D. And he goes, come here. And he goes to the freezer, and he goes, this is the last box of Dracula Delights in existence. So I'm 22 years old eating a God only knows how old Dracula Delight.
Did you savor it?
I would think I was really drunk, too. So
I think it's because they were actually made with real human blood.
Yeah, but it was... I ate the last Dracula Delight in the world.
That's awesome.
And the other thing you could do with the Dickie D's, because you'd see them every day, and not every day you'd have money, and they were teenagers, so they were cool, as opposed to you being 8 or 9. But I used to buy dry ice from them.
What?
They had dry ice in there, and you give them a quarter, and the guy would let you scoop a big bucket of dry ice, and you could fool around with that and make,
and burn your skin off?
I never touched it. I was too smart for that.
Oh, how
but I
did
used
you-
to do my own special effects, you know?
No computers.
Yeah.
Some dry ice. Did he give special kids angel dust too when he was handing out like bomb pop?
You know, I never asked. I
bet
never
he did.
asked. Yeah.
We used to have the guys that had like little like mail truck kind of things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those were bigger
And
cities.
then on the side, you'd have the stickers of all the stuff that you wanted to get.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd get up and be like, okay, I want the Bugs Bunny thing there, that Bugs Bunny with the bubblegum eyes. Yeah, we don't have any others.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We had a ghost like
We
that.
didn't have any. In L.A., I swear to God, when I first moved down here 21 years ago, I remember hearing the sound, and I was like working on a job somewhere, working a show, and I heard this familiar sound, was the the ice cream bell, whatever. I'm like, oh, it's the ice cream truck. What's? And they're like, dude, you don't want to go. No, wait, you guys have my, let's go. And we went out front, and it's just this white van
Oof.
with nothing painted on it, no logos, no nothing.
Free
And
candy.
it stops, and the doors open up, and you can barely see a kind of a hooded figure behind the wheel, like, what do you want? Like it's taking the dead to the, off the river Styx or something. I'm like, I was horrified. I was like, that is not an ice cream van. That's a guy that has a van, went to Bonds, loaded up with ice cream, and now is scaring children. That was the scariest thing that I saw when I moved out to LA.
You know, the one summer that was bad was we had a crappy neighbor who my dad and mom hated. And I don't know if I ever saw their parents. There were just four brothers, and they were just like, that house with
You
the...
told me about these guys.
Oh, yeah, almost, yeah. And one year, one of those brothers was a Dickie D for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And when I'd run up, he'd go, what do you want, Hyler? And I'd be like, oh, I want Dracula Delight. Don't got it. Like, he would have nothing I wanted. And then if another kid asked for Dracula Delight, he'd get it. And then he'd go, that was the last one. And he'd drive off. But then he got fired for stealing. So,
So he got his, huh?
yeah.
And years later, who got the last Dracula blah blah?
Me.
Yeah. So F you. For,
Guy. I don't remember their name. I remember their last name, but I'm not going to blare that out on
Yeah, blare it out and then fudge it later.
well, I think I could take them now.
Electronically. Okay, so my next one, again, these are in no order, would be, what do I say next? Yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm going to say this. Mom or dad taking me to the mall, the newsstand, bookstore, whatever it was, and they'd go off and do their thing, they take me individually or whatever. And that was my time to, go get a Famous Monsters or a Starlog or some comic books or whatever. Because there was, a Beat Alton in the mall, and there was a Walden Books in the other mall, and then, there was a... most of the places that had, freakier kind of magazines that I wanted, like maybe a Doctor Who mag or Starburst or whatever.
Outlaw Biker?
Those, like Biker, Cat Fancy. Those were ones that, you really had to. My dad would be like, "All right, we're going in now. You stay to the right. Don't look over here. Don't look down there. Don't look up in that corner."
Don't look at the magazine Dad's buying. That was my case.
Dad, what does O-U-I spell? Never mind. Give me the magazine. And,
Hustle. Yeah.
But it was that was a big deal. They didn't tell you when the magazine was going to hit the stands. I didn't know when the.
Oh, yeah.
It was just oh shit, it's a new one. I got to get to. And then you couldn't get them all, so you kind of had to. That was usually a weekend, part of a weekend day, maybe a Sunday thing or something, and I could just. That's it. I'm set with that magazine.
You know what? You and I are scary because that was my number 2 as well.
Oh.
But not in the same way. I miss print, but mine would have been just everywhere you went, you saw a big comic rack.
Yeah.
Bustling with stuff, and of course the lack of information, which I guess is it's a better age now. But you'd be like, they're making a Shogun Warriors comic. This is a new comic. They were just trying to get your money, and I loved the comic rack. Never was the same twice.
No.
And I mean, it wasn't until I started collecting Star Wars comics that I became aware of when they hit the shelves of the newsstand.
Uh-huh.
But you were still kind of frantic that you'd miss an issue.
Yeah.
When that Marvel premiere Doctor Who came out.
But I remember, when I first saw that was in the, news section of Starlog.
Yeah, and I went everywhere looking for it. And it was weird. I was just driving somewhere. My dad wanted to get a Coke in this town called Havelock, which is far away. And there was a Max Milk. What's that?
It sounds like it's in the jungle.
Yeah, and well, it isn't. It's in a nice area actually. It's the cottage country, but it was in the Max Milk, and it was that in your head. It's got an aura around it. You're so excited to find it. But I do kind of miss print, and I think also, I don't know about you, but comic books kind of left me 10 or 15 years ago. I don't read a lot of comic books anymore, and I kind of miss it.
I'm strictly, trade collections kind of things. If someone says, "Oh, you should read this thing. It's great. It's a collected," because there was a time there, 10 years ago or so. Late 90s, 10, 15, I gotta tell you.
I know.
Yeah, well, but there are some, the thing is, I would really get turned on. When you're a kid and you're reading this stuff, I'm like, oh, I gotta get to the next issue. But then, a couple days, a week goes by, I don't remember what the hell happened in that last issue. Until I pick up the other one and it says, remember last time, this thing. So, as I got older, I'm like, I don't have it in me to go every week or every month, whatever, put my shit aside, and I'll be able to follow all these things. But if it's a contained story, if it's 10 issues, or if it's, I got really into Planetary.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah,
Planetary and the Alan Moore stuff, and Warren Ellis did a thing called Fell, which was a really creepy. It was him and the guy that did 6 days, 7 nights. Jesus, 30 Days of Night.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That artist and Ellis did a thing called Fell, but it was only 10 issues, 13 issues. And it was very stylized. It was what it was. I love stuff like that. And that's what I would start to seek out. But as far as the Civil War thing and the New 52 and who's doing what, I don't have. Because, and you know what part of it is too, is the comic book, especially now, it's a 3-minute experience. I mean, you're through it cover to cover, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
As a kid, you're pouring over that stuff.
Oh yeah.
The collected story would be different. But.
I started getting trades from the library for a while a few years ago. I just Green Arrow, let me read that for a while.
Yeah.
And I found that there was almost a pacing issue, so they could take this story to a trade, and it kind of bugged me, And everybody was. There would be a lot of hyperbole about storylines, and I just wouldn't enjoy them.
Well, then I just kind of got to the thing where we could do a whole episode on comics.
Yeah, we should.
Again, it's just
yeah.
I don't know much about art, but I know what I like. Like when I see, X number of things that look very similar, although they may have different artists or different authors, if they all start to look like Jim Lee, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But if I look at someone like, there was a great book, Casanova. Fabian, oh shit, what was that?
Fabian, yeah, okay.
It was a weird one though. It was just weird art and just distinctive. And it was like when I see John Cassaday stuff, I go, "Oh, this could be interesting,"
Yeah.
And that sucks me in more. But anyway, that was my number 3.
Number 2, yeah. My number 2 was Comic Rex, so we can go over that. But the one thing I wanted to say was it's so rare to see them in the wild now that a while back I went into a variety store to get milk with my daughter. And there was a comic rack, and honest to goodness, full of comics. And it was definitely from probably the 70s. And, there couldn't have been an easier mark for my daughter that day for me to buy her a comic. She's, Dad, can I get an Archie? I'm like, yes.
That's cool.
Because
I love the 3-packs.
I loved the 3-packs too, and I collect them. But the one thing that bummed me out about the 3-packs is you'd get I remember getting one and it had a Batman story, and somebody turned Batman into a bat. I don't know if it was magic or what. And where do you get the next issue? I remember it ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, well, there's not there's a store I can buy old comics in. Being 6 years old going, I bought this in a bag in a department store.
That was the moment when you were 6 and you went, if only someone would someday invent a superhighway of information.
Yes.
I could one day find out what happened to Batman.
If only people would have a bag and board system and be obsessively compulsive about issues.
Eureka! Find me a pen.
Yeah.
take this down. So along those lines, I think we got to get to all this.
Yeah.
But I would say one of my other ones is, and this is very specific. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, so I'll get rid of it. God, we were not really a fast food family. I have to tell you, it's not that we didn't eat fast food. It's that my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my grandmother and my uncles, my great uncles, all started an Italian restaurant in St. Paul called Gino's.
Yeah.
And so we were fourth generation, me and my brothers and my cousin David. So we worked down there as kids. We were down there probably below the age we should have been, bussing tables and working in the kitchen.
That still goes on today, by the way. We've got friends.
Sure. But so, the most food that we ate outside of what we ate at home was from Gino's, was what my grandmother's food or from Gino's. So we'd always have meatball sandwiches at home, we'd have sausage, we'd have bukala, fokoto, whatever. Anyway. So, but up the street, we had a great little run, if you went up this street right by my house, there was a Burger King, there was a Taco John's, which people in the Midwest, maybe East Coast, will know what Taco John's is. Very, very cool.
It sounds so made up.
It's better than Taco Bell or any of them. Because they have these little things called potato olays. They're like little round potato things with like a seasoning on them. Anyway, Taco John's, and then you went up a little further, and there was a McDonald's, an Arby's, and a Zantigo's. The Zantigo's turned into a Taco Bell. Right around the time I noticed the album Breakfast in America by Supertramp, and they mentioned Taco Bell. I went, oh yeah, we got one now. I know what you're talking about. We got one. You got one in California for the album. We got one here too. But my favorite fast food place was a place called Burger Chef. And I don't know much about Burger Chef. I don't know where they came from, if it was an East Coast thing, a Midwest thing, I don't know. I just know there were at least two of them near where I grew up, and it was a treat to go to Burger Chef. And I swear, and I could be wrong about this, but I swear they were the ones that started the Fun Meal.
I think they did. I think they actually had a Star Wars Fun Meal.
And they had a Star Wars Fun Meal, and I got them.
I've never set foot in one.
I think somewhere I have that there were like little mini playing cards of the characters that was like a memory game or something. I've got those somewhere, but everything else, gone. But they had glasses that you could get, like Coke tied in with glasses or whatever, and they had posters, wasn't it? Or was that Burger King? I don't know.
I don't actually know because I'm Canadian.
Burger Chef was the shit, and Burger Chef was the guy, and then he had a little buddy called Chef Jeff. Again, let's not judge. It was a different time. We just assumed that the kid was like 16, 17, it was legal to work there. But Chef Jeff and Burger Chef were on all the merchandise. And, you probably know this even better, if they weren't doing something with the tie-in of a movie or something, there were monster characters.
Yeah, I don't actually know that.
Okay, you got to look it up then.
Okay.
They are these weird combination of like, when they draw monsters in like Dynamite magazine and shit, it was like that kind of weird art of like...
Oh, okay, like funky kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and for no reason, they just felt like they were the monsters of Burger Chef or something. And they had,
Makes
rings.
sense.
Yeah, just really cool prizes like rings and...
I love the all the premium stuff we got
I
or
would just,
didn't get.
If we were even in the neighborhood, even if I wasn't hungry, I would beg my mom to pull the car. Say, please, can we just? It's right there. It's right there.
Yeah, we had a place here. I swear to God, I had forgotten everything about it. Somebody posts on Facebook, "Hey, remember the Red Barn?" And they post a commercial for Red Barn Restaurants, which is a burger place. And I'm like,
wow!
And I was like. It started to give me a tremor, like that building. And I started thinking about that building's a car dealership around the corner now.
Wow.
And then I Googled it, and yeah, they only had a few Canadian restaurants, but like two of them were within driving distance of my house.
Wow.
And I hadn't thought of that since, I think they folded in like the mid-'70s. But it's so weird. Now I don't see Red Barns, And it's such a faded, weird, buried memory.
I could go back to the Twin Cities. I could go back to Roseville, where the one my favorite Burger Chef was, and I could probably find the street where Burger Chef used to be, and I could tell you right the exact spot it was. And then just like one day, a year went by. What was it? I went to look for it, and it was gone. Like Burger Chef had shut down. But it was such a treat, and I miss me some Burger Chef. Yeah, I miss Burger Chef. Burger Chef, Jeff, if you're out there,
God
fire up the
bless.
grill. Let's get a rave going.
Well, here's mine, and this one you'll be able to relate to.
Okay.
And this is, we got Toys R Us now. I miss local toy stores.
Yep.
You
That
know,
was on my list.
when I was a kid, we had Pinocchio's toys in Oshawa. We had Dominion Play Worlds, which was a kind of national chain, but it was still a regional chain. And then, it wasn't great for variety. But what I loved about it was, say you went to some new town and your parents took you to a mall and there was a toy store there, you'd see shit you didn't know existed.
Oh, yeah.
And it would blow your mind. Like I remember walking in, I was 77, my aunt was pregnant with my cousin, and we all got in the car and went for to Storkland or something. I think it was called Storkland. It was downtown Toronto. Mm-hmm. And there was a Mego World's Greatest Superhero display. I wasn't expecting to find toys for me, but
Sorry
they had
about that. Some Hell's Angels drove past.
Oh, cool! Did he give you the finger?
Yeah, okay, well, I'm giving him the finger.
Square.
Do the podcast.
I'd never seen the Falcon, and I flipped out. I bought
Oh my God, it's so weird you say that.
Yeah, but there was a place in Toronto too, because there was competition. There was all this ways of trying to make an impression. There was a place in Toronto. It was 4 floors called Mr. Gameway's Ark, and on the top floor they had a replica of the USS Enterprise bridge.
Jeez.
And I can honestly remember my friend talking about this, and then finally we were 13 years old. We hopped on the train, talking about being kids, right? We hopped on the train, went downtown Toronto. We ran to Mr. Gameway's Ark, and we saw the big padlock on the door because it went under like a month before.
That's enough to do it like a suicide pact.
I was pretty depressed, I got to tell you.
Made it out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I was barely.
It's called Mr. Gameway?
Mr. Gameway's Ark.
Mr. Gameway sounds like a villain on A Man Called Sloan.
Sure, so does Burger Chef. Or so does Taco John.
Taco John. Taco John could be villain. No, it's funny you say that because we had, people might not know, Target stores started in the Twin Cities. Target and Best Buy are Minnesota companies.
We knew that.
So, well, I'm rubbing it in. So Targets, for me, there was a Target on, where you turned, like, oh, the Target, we're going to go to Target, we're going to go to Target, we're going to go to Target. And so that's where you kind of get your toy fix, for the most part. But there was the Montgomery Ward, like, you have a picture on the site of a store called Storkville.
Yeah.
Storkville in St. Paul. That right earlier I was talking about where the Taco Bell and the Arby's and the McDonald's were and all that stuff. Right in that corner of that parking lot is where that store was, where Storkville was. And I'd go in there and I bought so much Buck Rogers stuff, like the Mego and like the rip of the Bractoid Buck Rogers stuff. I got the gun and helmet in there. I remember I got so much stuff in there. Weird generic, guns and shit. And there was also there was like a Montgomery Ward, outlets next door where they'd have all the catalog boxed toys that were much cheaper.
Right.
They have in this section. And then of course in the malls they had standalone stores like Kids, or there was one called Kidsville or whatever. And then best of all, I think I mentioned in the introduction to your book, your lovely book about rat toys, was Borgstrom Pharmacy. Now here's an anomaly too. Right here, it's like you go into a CVS or Walgreens. There's some toys. There's some stuff. Borgstrom was this huge pharmacy. It was half a block on one side of Payne Avenue. I swear. It had 2 levels. The upper levels were probably where all the pharmacists got high, mixed shit together up in the back.
It was the 70s.
But the main area was like everything. I swear you could get like vacuum cleaner. You couldn't get food. Or maybe you could get sandwiches up the front still. I don't know.
Oh, like a lunch counter?
If you came in off the street, you opened the doors, you came in, and you looked to your left, I swear, the entire wall was nothing but toys. And then you got over there were like 2 or 3 rows of toys and figures and rack toys and coloring books and Migos and you name it.
Yeah.
Where I got most of my Migos. And there was a Woolworths in the Maplewood Mall, and that Woolworths is where I got most of my Migos. I swear.
Yeah, Woolco was big for me. You say that I still
like the rubber masks.
Oh yeah, I can still remember the smell of that at Kresge's.
Oh.
The comic action heroes, the Mego comic action heroes, I always associate them with Shoppers Drug Mart here because they sold action figures there, which is so strange now.
I remember those at Targets and drugstores and stuff. But I'll tell you this. I swear, and anyone who can, jump in and tell me I'm wrong, we didn't have Toys R Us stores in Minnesota when I grew up.
Yeah, we didn't have them around where I lived till I was 14, which pissed me right off.
I saw ads in comic books.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know them. But right around 79, 80, whatever it was, there was something called Children's Palace.
Oh, yeah.
There was Child's World or Children's World, that big panda dude on skates, whatever.
Yeah, Children's Palace. What did they call themselves? The Toy Supermarket or something like that?
Everything a toy store should be. Something like that.
Yeah.
When I walked in those doors the first time as like a 10-year-old, yeah, I might as well have been, looking in the Ark of the Covenant or something. I was like, what the? The ceilings went on. It was a warehouse. The ceilings were huge. There was shit everywhere. That's the time where you go in 79, 80, 81, and you could still get all the Star Trek the Motion Picture stuff.
Yeah, well, that stuff did have a lingering effect.
It was built to last. But that was where
I bought an Ilya. I said this the other day. I bought an Ilya in college at a Simpsons store.
Oh, wow.
They had a kiddie pool full of clearance items, and there was like Superpowers Dark Sides and Remco Monsters, probably 90, 91. And I was actually just like hopping a bus back to my dorm, and it was like, oh my God.
I'm going to grab this Ilya.
Yeah, it was like $1.
And the Children's Palace is where I saw the Millennium Falcon. Like, I came around a corner. I think I'd seen the commercial, came around the corner, and that was the time, there was only 2 times that the penny dropped, and my mom was like, this whole Santa thing, you get it. I was like, okay, I wanted to go, yeah, I was kind of doing it for you.
Yeah.
Kind of new, not a big deal.
We're going through that right now.
She's like, you can have this, but you cannot have it until Christmas morning. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And then like a year later, it was the 12-inch Kenner Indiana Jones doll.
Oh, yeah.
That I just...
We can go on for hours, and we should.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, that I started it. So what's your number 3?
Wait, no, I've already done 4.
Oh, all right. I don't know how that happened. Okay, so I'll catch up to you with 4, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you know why? I know why. Because I jumped in on your toy thing. It's like, why? That was 2 in 1.
Oh, cool. Okay. Number 4 for me, Heroes World. I just miss... That was the internet, You'd be like, what? They got Teen Titan dolls? That was half the joy of buying a comic book was the ads.
Yeah.
And God help me if I found one of those Heroes World catalogs.
Oh my God.
It was really difficult for me to order things. So, did you ever order from the Heroes World catalog?
I don't know if I did, because I have to tell you, I know I must have, because here's my recollection of an experience was, God, this is so vivid to say this now. I was sick. Like, I had to get out of school. Like, I had some terrible cold kind of thing.
Oh, I had that too.
You probably gave it to me.
Ah, yeah.
My brother went to the drugstore to get the cough medicine or whatever. Left me at the Denny's or whatever it was. And when he came back, he said, here's the thing. He read the thing. He's like, this is when we have to take it once you get home. And then he goes, here, I grabbed you this. And it was an Adventures of Indiana Jones comic book.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So it was the spin-off Marvel comic. And when I'm flipping through it, there, smack dab in the middle, is this incredible ad for what looked like just everything.
Yeah.
Superheroes, Star Wars, Kenner figures, 12-inch. It just was like, what? And that might have been my first, because they were drawn. It was like they were photos, but they were drawn.
All done by the Kubert School of Art.
All done by you too could get a certificate from the Kubert School of Art.
No, they would drum me out on my ass.
And then so then I must have ordered something, because I know I got one in the mail, like a catalog in the mail or something. I always thought it was funny, even as a kid, all these things I'd send away for, and I wonder if on the other end of it, when they got the envelope and they looked at the writing, they were like, this is either a mentally deficient adult, or this is like a 9-year-old that grabbed his mom's checkbook, wrote out a check, and, sent this up. I wonder if they ever, I just kind of felt like, cool, my package showed up. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it too. The adults do it. I can do it. I got a package. It showed up. I mailed it.
I would like to, because I always tried to put on like airs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, dear sir,
Dear sir.
Giant S, tiny I, big R.
Please find enclosed an SASE
Yes.
for your convenience.
Yes.
Signed, Nerd Boy.
Yes.
That's a good one. But
I still sign things, Nerd Boy.
I'll see your. Hey, wait. How many have we done so far?
I've done 4. You've done 4.
Okay, geez, we're not doing. Okay, this is so cliche. I can't even believe it. But this could be 2 categories or 1. But let's just take them separate. Saturday mornings. Just Saturday mornings all around.
The ritual?
It was a ritual. It was absolutely a ritual.
I'm writing something for Famous Monsters on that, so this is wonderful. Let's chat.
Oh my god. I waited all week for it. You gotta remember, I know some kids say they didn't like school. Some kids really did like school. I mean, I know some kids now, little kids, we meet and go, oh, you excited to get back to school? Oh yeah, I can't wait to get back to school. And you're like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hey, Loverboy said it best. Everybody is working for the weekend.
Well, I was working for Saturday morning, let me tell you. Because when that bell rang on Friday, it was like, that's it. I got Friday afternoon, which was, every afternoon was the Munsters and Addams Family.
Oh, yeah. I had that.
But they were back-to-back.
Get smart here.
Make a tuna burger. I'm not trying to be funny, like, but it's now become a funny term, or like, I was a latchkey kid. I was one of those kids called a latchkey kid. Like, my parents worked. My mom went to work at a certain age. I, from the age of like 6 or 7, was getting dropped off at the corner, walking home to my house with a key, locked the door, and I was alone for like 2 or 3 hours.
My best friend was, and that's why I lived at his friggin' house.
Yeah, man, it was fucking never did me any harm.
No.
Look at me now. Anyway, so Saturday morning was just like, and man, I programmed it. Not only did I have the right cereal, the last trip, wherever we went, if I had watched the commercials from the week before and I knew that Honeycomb had the cool decoder thing in it, it was Honeycomb. If it was a monster thing, whatever, it depended on what had the coolest prize. Because I didn't really do cereal in the morning out the house. It was like maybe a piece of toast or nothing.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think there were like things, you get milk in the morning at school or some shit. I don't remember.
Oh, we never got
by the way,
anything.
just stop giving milk to kids. Everybody should just stop. It's just a terrible thing to do to kids. You know? It's just, they don't need it. It's just going to mess them up later. They're going to turn into like little milk people. Anyway.
Where did that come from?
Well, I'm just thinking, because, I mean...
You turned into Alex Jones there for a minute.
We had milk, or we had once a week, once a month, we had chocolate milk. And that was it. That was the variety. Every day in grade school, could we get some tea, or maybe some iced tea, or just something different? No, it was milk. It was like warm milk.
Ew. Yeah, I couldn't do that.
It's really disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's good for your bones. It's like, no, it's not. We don't need the dairy of another animal to survive. We're the only species that does it. And I'm just saying to the schools out there.
We're going to get some weird letters.
Stop giving milk to kids. That ain't right.
Now, I think I know where you're going with this, though. Is the idea that it was all about you on a Saturday morning. It was all catered to you.
Yeah, because you know what? My parents didn't get up at 7 in the morning on a Saturday. No way. I was up at 7 because I knew the schedule. And you remember those days when they would do the preview day, a preview Saturday morning?
No, those previews would be like Friday night. Remember, they'd be hosted by Freddie Prinz or...
Okay, so then...
I watched those until adulthood.
So then Saturday morning, you would know what the new lineup was. And sometimes it would be in a comic book.
Yeah, those comic books would come up around August.
Tarzan,
Super 7, yeah.
Followed by Flat, The Adventures of... And I'll never forget that morning. I went from Looney Tunes down on CBS, flipping around, wasn't sure what was coming, and fell on Flash Gordon, the greatest adventure of all.
Oh, yeah. For me...
I was never the same.
For me, it was the Tarzan and the Monster Squad and the Super 7. There's never been topped for me.
Did you know as a kid, when you saw Flash Gordon, did you go, hey, I think that's Tarzan?
I knew that the logo, and I said this to Lou Scheimer.
The circle?
The circle, when I saw that, and I was a kid, I apologize, and I actually, up until I think my pal Benjamin Holcomb corrected me at San Diego Comic-Con, saying his name's not Schemer, it's Scheimer, Brian.
Who corrected you, Sergeant Holcomb?
Ben Holcomb. The fellow that wrote the World's Greatest Toys book, the Amigo book.
Oh,
we were at San Diego Comic-Con, and I met Lou Scheimer and his daughter, but I, as a kid, always pronounced it Schemer because I'm 5 when I'm reading it.
Right.
So I never corrected myself and never actually said it to another human being. And I said, hey, I'm going to go meet Lou Schemer from Filmation. And Ben went, it's Scheimer. And you could have bought me for a nickel. But I did go up to him and say, when I saw that circle, I knew I'd like it. And he was really touched by that.
Let me tell you, I had a moment, and it was the Comic-Con before he died. And I went over to him, and it was just, I knew he wasn't well, but I don't know what was going on with me at the time that I kind of made my way over there, why it was important. I don't know if I knew he was ill. I don't know what, but I just, if you're connected to this stuff, I always say this about, producing, when I produce on shows. Like, you give me anyone. I can get them on camera, and I can ask them the right 5 questions, and they'll tell me anything. Like, people just, if you get them the right way, they like to talk. And they will talk, and they want to talk. And if you turn a certain corner, if they start talking about it, get emotional, whatever. Well, the same thing goes for this stuff that we love.
Oh, sure.
Like meeting Steranko last year, and just the way he was like, "Come here, kid," and like putting his arm around my neck. I mean, I'm sure he's done this a million times. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to say to him, I don't know if you understand how I'm not a comic book guy, but your stuff, and I'm getting emotional. And when I saw Scheimer the year before, I started to tell him in a way that was like not too complicated or convoluted, but also not something he hears every single day, but that, that show led me to love Flash Gordon, to get the strips, and then the movie came out, yada yada, and all these years later, I'm now making toys for the movie, and I hope to do it for the show sometime. And he looked at me and he said, you're kidding me. And I said, no, that's a true story. That's because of you and that show and how much you loved that character. And he said, oh, God, could you send me some? Mm. And man, you could talk about knock you down with a feather. I was like, yes, of course I could. And that was like a time travel, really weird moment there.
How cool is that?
I instantly was back on the red and black shag carpet, cross-legged on the floor, looking at the television, watching the show, going, how did that thing happen?
Yeah,
I put some together and I sent them to his wife, and I assume that they arrived, but I think not long after
he passed.
That Comic-Con, he passed away because he wasn't well.
Yeah, the funniest thing that happened to me about Saturday morning is that, and this is, I'm writing a piece for Famous Monsters on the ritual of it right now.
Cool.
And I asked my daughter, and this is going to be the opening passage. I hope I'm not giving too much away, but what's your favorite Saturday morning show? And she named some stupid reality show.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, the world is cartoons for you. You have, like, I dreamed of her world of like, I want to watch Super Friends. Beep. Mm-hmm. She has like 5 channels of cartoons. She's got On Demand. She's got Netflix. She's got a smart dad who has every Ren and Stimpy on his hard drive.
You're getting right to the heart of where I'm going to go next.
Yeah.
But no, you go. But
I was kind of done. We live in a golden age of cartoons, but I do kind of miss that whole, yay, it's Saturday morning. And Jason, I used to get up. My mother used to have to drag me out of bed, throw things at me to go to school, and I'm still that way. My wife is like, get up. I am up on Saturday at 6 a.m. I can't fall back asleep. And it's like, oh my God, what did I do to myself?
I don't know. It's all that sleeping in as a kid. You should
Yeah.
not watch cartoons. Well, I mean, because I would go from 7 to like 11 a.m. Like, you knew once some of the live action stuff started to come in that, you know, the trip was over.
Oh, I love the live action stuff, though.
No. I mean, I don't mean like Bigfoot and Wild Boy shit like Wonder But I don't mean that stuff. I mean, there was a
Fat Albert was always.
Dear Alex and
Oh yeah, Dear Alex and
like
Annie,
that, like
or
the
the
you know, Hot Hero Sandwich. You know, the Hot Hero Sandwich comedy
Dear
show.
Alex and Annie.
Once that, or Hot Fudge. There was a show called Hot Fudge.
Yeah, I remember Hot Fudge. A Soul Train was a good one. You know, you were in too late.
In, pretty much knew the cartoons were off the schedule for that.
I never got past Fat Albert because my parents would kick my ass outside by Fat Albert. Yeah,
I maybe I'd have a second bowl of cereal if it was like, but if I need some energy, if I was like, you know, at 10 a.m. I was starting to better grab another bowl of honeycomb or something, and that put me back up. But that, you know, this is perfect. What I was trying to talk about, and you encapsulated it very well. And again, this is not trying to sound like we had it so great. I don't.
Hey, what's fun?
I don't. You know, having to go to record shows to find B-sides on 7-inch singles of bands that you love because there's no other way to get it. I don't want to have to go through that again. I love that this stuff is at everyone's fingertips. I really do. I'm truly coming around to a lot of it, but I'm fascinated by, like, oh, really, I can just do that, and that thing's there, and then everything you want is on DVD. Shows that nobody cared about, everything's out there.
Yeah, I have great nostalgia for going to toy shows like crazy.
What worries me, the part that makes me nuts,
Yeah.
and this goes back to maybe our parents, maybe older brother, I don't know what. I just, you know, one of the ones I was going to say was the movie-going experience.
Oh.
But I could say the movie-going experience. I could say the television watching experience. The going to buy a new record experience. The thing, whatever. If you didn't get it when you got it, you weren't going to get it. That was it. There was no, and if it was going to come on again, you maybe had to wait like 10, 12 weeks for reruns to start, and then maybe you'd see that episode again. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love that.
We only had 3 networks, and then we had public television, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There is something kind of fun about everybody knew what you were talking about.
Yes, everybody did. And if you saw something that was like mind-blowing, or I don't care if it was Roots or V or whatever, everybody was talking. I mean, I remember the night, not to, you know, but I remember the night that Mork showed up on Happy Days.
Yeah, I do too.
The next day, everybody was talking about it. Like that, and I'm not saying it isn't there, and I'm not saying it isn't cool to binge watch, whatever. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's better or we were better because we had a. I think that with all of that, and again, I'm going to stress again, I don't mind that these things are easily accessible.
Mm-hmm.
What I mind about it is, I think we're getting to generations that are going to take it for granted.
Yeah, but we took for granted more than our parents did, I guess, too.
But see, I don't think so.
Well, we were the VCR kids.
We were the VCR kids, but I went to film festivals. My dad took me to see Bogart.
Yeah.
My dad took me to see the Thin Man movies, and that turned me on to these are people that were dead 50 years before I was born, 30, 40 years before I was born. So when I hear things happen, or George Martin dies, and George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones has to, like, put out a statement and saying, people stop tweeting, I'm alive, it's not me. That really starts to fucking scare me because, you know, then you go, well, how do they know who Edgar Allan Poe is? Or Chaucer? Or Bogart? Or, you know, Chaplin? I mean, you know what I mean? It's in this attitude of, well, I wasn't even born then. Well, what the really? Really, that's...
you know what, you'd say that, but I know, I think that we'll always find those examples of people who have no sense of the past.
You will, but
I'm raising people who do.
You go back and you look at some of those old comic books.
Yeah.
You will find in the poster ads and the T-shirt ads, you'll find Bogart,
Brando,
you'll find Redford, you'll find James Dean, you'll find
Spiro T. Agnew.
Spiro T. Agnew. You'll find Fatty Arbuckle.
Yeah, Fatty Arbuckle.
Dorothy Parker.
Yeah, I used to wonder who those people were.
Because it wasn't everywhere all the time, 24 hours a day. Things stuck around a bit. One of the movie theaters that was our regular movie theater, I will bet you from the time I had memory of going to the movies, probably till like 85 maybe, they had this wall. So as you got your tickets, you came in, here was the food thing, you got your thing, now you're all kind of huddled together like cattle. So they go, okay, seating for blah, 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 and then you go. You'd look up, and the wall, just above where you're about to walk into, the whole wall was black and white shots of movie stars. It had Godzilla, it had Raquel Welch, it had Bogart, it had W.C. Fields, it had Redford, it had Newman, Pacino, like everything. But I mean, it was like the last 30, 40 years of Hollywood was up there. You go in Burbank now, they've got something, just not even I wouldn't even say similar, that's an insult to it, but it's like this collage, and it's like Gibson and Glover, Will Smith, and Jackie Chan. Like it's like somebody did it in like 95 and no one updated. Like it's gone. It's nothing. There's no permanent sort of.
Yeah, the society is getting a bit more disposable, and I think we're kind of culprit. I think we all want something new.
But on the other hand, I do think there's a good chunk of younger generations that are curious and they want to know, like that. Wait, that's a cover by who? Wait, who did that song?
Oh, yeah.
They go and they explore. What irritates me is the ones that don't, or they don't know, or who was just saying something the other day about something that, this is someone that didn't know the name. I don't know what it was, and it was shocking to me that this person was in the position that they were in. It might have been a thing that somebody wrote about Nerdist, a Nerdist show or something, that on camera got information so wrong.
I have to read.
Shame on you, because you're the generation that shouldn't get anything wrong.
Yeah, I have to read misinformation clickbait, especially in the area of vintage toys.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Some moron goes on eBay, sees somebody wants $12,000 for something, he says, "Look how rare and valuable it is." That could, I could do that tomorrow too. I could take something that's worth $100 and put $12,000 on it. Doesn't mean it's worth that.
No.
And there's no research done. And it drives me crazy. But you know what? This is our pants line are slowly hiking up our waists here.
No. They're not, because keep in mind.
I hear the spirit of it.
The state of, we are living in the this is the time. As good as all the stuff that we're talking about, and as nostalgic as we can get, and as much as we miss it and everything, we are living in the golden age of everything. Yeah. All the shit that we wanted to happen came true.
No, I agree.
Somebody sat in front of you when you were 11 and said, listen, Brian, here, I got a couple of scenarios. You'll be able to watch any movie anytime that you want, pretty much on a screen that you'd have at home. Those toys you've been hunting for all over town, you can just find someone in Japan that has them and click a button and they'll be here. You know what I mean?
That totally just happened. Yeah. Well, you know what? I want to point out to you that my number 5 is almost exactly the same as your number 5.
Uh-oh.
Mine is TV movies. And do you remember the big TV movie and you'd freak out? This happened to me the other day. We're flipping around on the Roku and I'm looking for a movie and I see Gargoyles.
Oh, yeah.
And I immediately went, holy shit, Gargoyles. I got to watch this.
That was a Saturday or Sunday standby. It seemed to air once a month.
Yeah, and I turned to my wife, who's like, what's that? I'm like, Gargoyles! And she's she missed that
what I remember?
meeting.
I'll give you two that I remember. And I won't even say the name of the second one. You'll know what it is. But the first one, you remember Evil Roy Slade? You remember that?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
It was John Aston. It was kind of like they were trying to do Blazing Saddles on television, but John Aston, I think it was written by Buck Henry or somebody. I forget who it was written by, but it was just I remember one bit. It was a TV thing, so it only aired once, but I remember John Aston with those big eyes. He comes into a fancy area and he's got a nice, little tie on or something, but he's a thug, obviously. And he sees a guy playing a stand-up bass cello, he's like he's got it between his legs.
Yeah.
And he comes over to him and puts a gun on him and he says, "Get that violin up under your chin where it belongs, like a gentleman." And It was just the dumbest, most random line, but I remembered it forever. But the other one that scared the...
Trilogy of Terror?
Huh?
Trilogy of Terror?
No.
Bad Ronald?
No.
Oh, I thought I would have got
Where
those.
have all the people gone?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I had nightmares.
That's like the lamest one.
No, not when you're 4 and you're looking at bodies on the ground with powder coming out of their arms and legs,
I guess, yeah.
and no one's around.
There's one with Robert Culp, and he's in an Arctic base. It's like The Thing. Something's trying to antagonize them, and they can't figure out. I think it's called A Cold Night's Death. And then the big shocker is it's the monkeys, the research monkeys, are experimenting on them. Have you ever seen that one?
Davy, Mickey.
No, not them. No, I see. No, these are actual simians.
No, but I can tell you that based on the description, that it is definitely based on an acid trip that Robert Culp had.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
I can see him coming into the network pitching that. Listen, man.
It was pretty scary in my grandma's basement in 1981. Yeah, so that's
okay. All right. Okay, but this could be similar though, along the similar lines.
Okay.
And I know I've talked to you about this before, and I know you're not quite as familiar as I am, but one of my favorite things in the history of the world in television is the Battle of the Network Stars.
I love Battle of the Network Stars.
Holy cats. You could never do this show today. You couldn't. Because you had 3 networks, and it aired on ABC, so CBS and NBC had to share their talent.
Yeah.
Give ABC airtime and, commercial breaks or time or whatever, ad space for one night. And it went 76 to like 82 or 83.
Now, didn't my hero Robert Conrad make a complete dink of himself too?
He made a massive D-bag of himself.
That's my favorite part.
Not only did he make a massive D-bag of himself, he puffed his chest out to Gabe Kaplan, who he thought was going to fold like,
Gabe Kaplan.
Paper. Not only did Kaplan not fold and skunk him in the rematch, but then when they were saying, "Oh, congratulations," our buddy Conrad does a little off-color joke. I am German, he's a Jew. That's why I hate him and don't want him to win.
Oh.
He did that on live television.
Because that's like never been cool either. That's not.
No, of course. And that's the tip of the iceberg on the Battle of the Network Stars. But this leads me to one category that we'll just brush over and leave alone lest we sound creepy. One of my top 10 was the female ladies of persuasion.
As opposed to the male ladies?
The ladies of the 70s.
Oh my.
Well, because, look,
Linda Lavin.
I'm not
Polly Holiday.
Lavin, the Bounty Lady.
Rosie.
Maud.
That's Nancy Walker.
Nancy Walker, Maud.
Clara Peller. Oh no, that's the 80s. We'll save that
Clara Peller. Mrs. Beasley.
The Snoop Sisters.
Thought it was a real
it's a rich tapestry.
Sorry. No, I mean Linda Carter.
Oh, yeah.
Barbeau. Cheryl Teagues, Farrah Fawcett, Kate Jackson, Jacqueline Smith. That's all the angels, right? Or did I miss Shelley Hack? Shelley Hack. What isn't there another one? What was her name? She was Sheena Tanya Roberts. Tanya Roberts, yeah. They just were real. Well, Tanya might not have been real, but saying they just with you this lead again, Battle of the Network Stars.
Yeah.
You remember the spoof on SNL about them?
Oh, sure.
It's the Battle of the TNA Stars. And
Did you ever see the Battle of the PBS Stars on SCTV? It's got, Mr. Rogers boxing Julia Child.
And Carl Sagan's in it, too, right?
I think so, yeah.
That is one of the greatest pimps of all time, that they did the Battle of the PBS Stars. That was brilliant.
The ladies.
There you go. So there's 2 right there. I got Battle of the Network Stars, which I put /70s shows, look, it's the Glenn Campbell Christmas special. And look, Gilda Radner's got... everybody got a special. Everybody... Yeah. If the ratings were okay on the show, they got an hour. And it was probably a massive fucking train wreck. But if you loved Gilda Radner, you wanted to see her hour-long special.
I remember watching a lot of those hour-longs, but they were all bad.
But you remember the logo? Did you have the logo?
Yeah, it's special. Oh yeah. We joke about that. We knew that would be like Michelle always says. Oh, it's Peanuts. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Peanuts ones always had ads for Dolly Madison.
Dolly Madison, which we didn't even have here. So
singers and ring dings and all that shit.
Yeah.
So there's two. I think I only have a couple left. So.
Okay, here's a couple of mine. We can go through these ones quickly. Arcades. I miss arcades. I don't game. I know my son has an Xbox in his room, and a video game somewhere. They dropped me off somewhere around 1990, and I could just see them driving off. But I miss arcades. I miss taking my. I wanted to take my kids to an arcade, and it's actually been kind of difficult. Luckily, locally around here, there's a guy, an old by the name of Steve. He also puts on toy shows. He occasionally puts on a roving arcade too, which is killer.
See, that leads me to my offshoot of that would be the mall experience.
Yeah.
To me, for arcades, it was always there was like
it was always in the mall, and it was dark.
The closest mall, so you go to the mall. So, and then when you kind of got worn out from the arcade, you'd hit the food court.
Yep.
Grab a pretzel,
I used to the Oshawa Center. I used to play the Tron game. I loved the Tron game.
And it seemed like malls were just always hopping.
Yeah.
There was always people. I mean, I went back to the one, in St. Paul, where the one I went to as a kid most of the time. And it was just like, that was like 5-6 years ago. It was crickets. There was nothing going on. Same size.
Yeah,
mall.
you know what? My mall now is like pretty sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was
weird,
bustling.
but it was always. Actually, I could be wrong about this too. Bit of trivia. Wait, I'm not. No, wait. I think I'm right. First, shopping mall in America is Southdale Mall in Minneapolis.
Well, you're a Minneapolis trivia buff.
And the Skyway system started in the Twin Cities. Thank you very much. Because if it didn't, everybody'd be dead because they'd be freezing trying to get.
Yeah. Oh, you had one of those deals where you could, like, they call them skywalks in.
Hobbit trails.
Like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to have one in college. It was awesome because it was all art down the tunnels, and it was just weird art for kilometer after kilometer underground. I loved it.
Yeah, but the mall. I took the mall in with the arcade. 'Cause, I mean, I did the arcade. Centipede and Tron were like my fucking.
Shinobi was my game, and King Tut.
I had quarters up there, like 10 quarters.
Oh yeah. And that was kind of weird too, because that was like your first taste of prison. Because it was kind of like the big kid would come along, put his quarter on there. You know what I mean? Like there was a bit of a hierarchy in there.
And then you kind of had to. The pressure was on because they're standing there watching you play.
And there would be packs of kids in there.
Yeah, and you're like...
And there was like one guy...
2 guys...
Smoking a cigarette in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, this place is lame. Let's go to the food court.
Well, I mean, there'd be like one adult. It was barely supervised.
But it was a great way to talk to girls.
It was.
Because you'd be like, are you using this machine here? Have you tried it? It's a great way to, like, little icebreaker.
I remember going to one arcade and the kid offered me a cigarette. He had taken a cigarette from an ashtray and said, "You want to split this?" And I was scared. That's probably 10.
Wow, that's creepy. He took it out of an ashtray?
Yeah, those kids would do that.
Was he a hobo? Was he like a kid? We sure it wasn't a hobo? Not like a child, but like a...
It was a child hobo. It was a young hobo.
That's not like a thing a kid would do. Like
He had Junior Bindle.
He didn't have a light. Like, my plan is foiled.
Yeah, it was literally like a quarter of a cigarette. He's like, "You want to split this?" And it's like, no.
Was it Jackie Earl Haley?
No, it kind of looked like that. And it freaked me right out.
It's like, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Some dirt here.
The other thing I wanted to mention, and it ties into arcades and old malls, is I miss the colors orange and brown on things. Yeah, I sincerely do.
It's so funny you say that, because Maplewood Mall was orange and brown.
Oh, the Oshawa Center was a brown on brown with more brown.
Who's the guy that ran for president? Paul, he was on Laugh-In.
Oh, Pat Paulson.
Pat Paulson. I remember posters for that campaign all over the Maplewood Mall.
Didn't he run for years as for the president? Yeah.
That was kind of the joke.
Yeah. I missed that, and I'll tell you, I'm currently packing up my house to move, And in my new place, I'd really like to, make it look like Gabe Kaplan's apartment in Welcome Back, Kotter. And
Really?
yeah, for my own area, I'm not allowed to do that in any other area of the house. But I would love to get some orange carpet. Absolutely love it, and it's not easy to find.
Probably not.
No,
I think there's only one waterbed dude in the entire country or world left.
So that's good. That's good.
I dug Rhoda's apartment.
Rhoda's apartment was awesome. Yeah,
Freaking awesome. And Mary's. She had a great one. She had a penthouse, didn't she? Or something?
Mary had a loft, I think. No, Rhoda lived in the loft.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Rhoda. I had such a crush on Rhoda.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she was tough. So I really only have let's see. What do we? How many do you have left?
I have 3 left.
You have 3 left?
Yeah, but I mean they're not all winners.
Well, give me one.
Lunch boxes.
Oh.
They don't make lunch boxes anymore.
No, they don't.
And do you remember that? You pick your new lunch box, and
Are you kidding me?
It was a big decision.
It was a big decision. It was a status thing.
Yeah. What do I want to go as this year?
When you sat and you opened it up, did you keep it up and then look over it at the kid across from me, or did you put it on its side or under the table?
I have some bad news for you. We didn't get tin lunch boxes in Canada. I don't know why. They were all plastic, and they would just have a sticker on them.
Yeah, but that's what they became. But you didn't get any of the tin ones?
I never saw tin ones as a kid. I always had plastic.
I had the DC Super. I had the DC Superman the movie one.
Nice.
I had the Marvel superheroes one.
That's a classic.
I had the Star Wars one. I had, what else did I have? I just remember one year going, just being that moment, just being in the aisle at Target going, I can't do it. I can't. I'm getting too old for a lunchbox.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Hong Kong Fooey, and I remember that was huge. And of course, I lived a block away from my school growing up, so I just went home. So I didn't get as many lunchboxes as most kids, but I had 2 in my life: Hong Kong Fooey and the Black Hole.
Oh, nice! Oh, I had that one too.
Yeah, mine was the Canadian one.
Let me make I'm gonna make a confession.
Yeah.
And it's a little known secret. You know how they say kids oh, I didn't really care for school. I hated school. I mean, I hated it as a kid. I hated it in junior high. I hated it in high school. I hated college. I was not cut out for going to school.
Oh, really?
Just not my bag. Stuff I was good at, straight A's. Stuff I had to work at, didn't care, and just didn't care. But the whole thing of going to see your friends, it's not like I hated every single day or anything, but those early days, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, 2 things come to mind. One is the lunchbox, going to the cafeteria. I obviously had friends. I was a popular kid, believe me. No, but I'm saying I had loads of friends. But you put the lunchbox up, and you would open it up, and you would still talk to the kid across from you, but he couldn't see what you had in your stash. And then maybe you'd pull out a ho-ho and be like, "Oh, what do you get? What? Do you have something else? Do you have something? Well, I got a Twinkie. Yeah, I'll do the Twinkie." And you'd trade stuff or whatever. And then the thermos, I never could get it on tight enough. I never could finish all the grape juice, and there was a little bit left, and the lunchbox always leaked in the closet, and the teacher would freak out and everything. But I remember also in 1st grade, Mrs. Bellison, rest in peace, probably my favorite teacher of all time, 1st grade. She was so cool. If you did something cool in the classroom, who wants a job, clean this and do the things, whatever. Not only did she reward you by coming up, she had a coffee can, and you could pick out whatever you want from it. And she had those Marvel stickers with the funny captions, the Marvel characters.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Oh my God, I put those all. I saved up 10 of them, and then one day in my bedroom, 6, 7 years old, I put them all over my wooden headboard.
Of course you did.
And my mother came home, and I will never forget the scream. She was like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "See, I collected all of them." And then also she would do it. She'd have a thing. And if you're listening, David Salkow, I know you're probably listening to this show right now. You were my buddy in 1st and 2nd grade. She would do a trade day where you could bring something in from home, and trade it with someone else, you know, in the class. So, like if they had a cool thing and whatever. And I think I traded something for, might have been that haunted house record or something for. David had that great shot of Godzilla eating the train or something. Or
Oh, cool.
Pong with whatever. Or it might have been a bag of weed. I don't remember what you had, David, but
Dime bag? Yeah.
but either way, I smoked it. Whatever it was,
Yeah.
if it was the Godzilla picture, it was still great.
Yeah.
But it was first grade, so give me a break.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
that's a good one.
Lunchboxes. And then
Lunchboxes.
my number 9 is McDonald's apple pies.
Oh,
Like the deep fried panzerotto of apple in it. Like I think about that a lot. And
don't they still have those?
not here. I'll feel like a fool if they do, because I don't eat at McDonald's much. But they have apple pies, but they're not that deep fried, filling
No,
as
no,
hot
no.
thing anymore.
Yeah, they're not.
They're healthy now.
Yeah,
Because when you think apple pie, you want to be healthy.
that's what I want.
I really miss that. Or cherry. I'll go for cherry.
Did you have Dairy Queen there?
Yes, we have Dairy Queen here.
Did you have Dairy Queen Brazier?
Yes, of course we did.
Did you have A&W?
Yes, we had the drive-through, drive-in A&W.
I used to love that. Oddly enough, I'm getting really hungry.
Really?
You just said what did you said?
That was
made me
my
think of something else.
that was my number 9.
Oh, you know what?
What?
All right, I'll throw this at you since we're talking about it.
Okie dokie.
Oh, this could be very colloquial. This could be very U.S. There was a candy bar that existed one time in my youth, and it looked like a Twix.
But it wasn't a Twix, was it?
Boy, when you got it home, it wasn't a Twix. It's called the Summit Bar.
I remember the commercials for Summit bars.
They're like people on a bike and they're like
Summit, yeah. I don't think I ever had one.
like everyone's out in the sun riding bikes. Getting
Yeah.
out. Sure could use a candy bar right now.
Yeah.
Who's got licorice?
They were like old cigarette commercials,
Yeah,
but they replaced it with a candy bar.
And then the two bars. There were two like wafer type things, but it was a wafer with little stuff in between the wafers, and then peanuts, and then chocolate on top, and there were 2 sticks.
Yeah.
Now there's something similar right now that Reese's does. They're like Reese's sticks, but they don't have the nuts.
I think I really like whatchamacallits. They still make that, I think.
What do you call it? That commercial, man, that never got old, huh?
No, it never did.
And forever. Okay, so here's my last one, and then
Okay.
you wrap it up.
I got my last one right after you.
There's no
So
better way than to cap the 70s than 2 seminal moments, really, for me.
Okay.
Because we were the Star Wars generation.
Sure.
I mean, Star Wars was mega for us. Still is for loads of people, obviously. I couldn't be more thrilled that it's all happening again. Got nothing against it. All for it. Love it. Because it really was, people don't realize how just consumed. If you think people are consumed with it now because they're getting it all the time, imagine us back then.
there's one movie.
Yeah, like trying to find information anywhere for 3 years.
I love all the magazines that you find. Like, I still dig through piles, and it's like Darth Vader expose, and it's all this bullshit because nobody knew anything.
Yeah,
But they were just trying to keep the machine alive.
yeah, or those weird, those terrible, like, they clearly had no information, but it was some shitty publication that was like, someone's gonna die, can't say who, or whatever. Anyway, everyone knows at this point how traumatic it was for me that Han Solo got frozen. Spoilers.
Yeah.
In The Empire Strikes Back. It really, I'm not, it really, I don't know what these kids today, if they have grown up with the Marvel movies, I don't know how they're going to take Civil War. That is really can be scary stuff to do to kids. But it's necessary sometimes, and it's cool, whatever. But I mean, people forget what a left hook Empire Strikes Back was for these smiling 10-year-olds that went into it thinking, dun-da-da, and then they came out of it going, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
That was bleak.
It was dark.
But 6 months later, the Flash Gordon movie came out, December of 1980, and it lifted me out of my
Yes.
it really did. And so that power that those movies had and those things, like, I wanted to be Han Solo. I didn't just love him, like, I wanted to be him. And can I ask you a quick question? This is a total sidebar, but this is a great way to wrap it up before you get to your thing. You know how they always like put the kid in the thing, like, oh, short round, or how about
Yeah.
we got to get a kid in there. when you were a kid, did you want to have anything to do with that kid?
I only wanted no, but in the 70s, Neil Adams smartly drew Robin as a teenager.
Yeah, okay,
and I totally wanted to be Robin.
Yeah, no, I'm talking strictly TV.
No, the annoying kid. No, he could. I wished he would.
The kid that
he
ended
would
up
die.
in the show or every movie.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't know one.
Because that kid was competition. He wasn't.
I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know one human ever that went, oh man, short round. Yeah, you and I can hang out. They're going, what are you doing?
I
there?
was always looking for like an older brother type character. The kid annoyed the crap out of me.
So these idiots for years were like, well, we got to get a kid in there. The kids will relate. Kids will not relate to another kid with their hero. They're going to be like, get out of the way. I want to be there. You know, I just hate you. Anyway.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay. My number one. Yeah, this is my number one.
Better be good. Don't screw this up.
It's great.
Make it good.
Catalogs. I miss catalogs.
I thought you said Camelot. Sorry,
Camelot. I also miss Camelot with Robert Goulet. It's only coming for 4 weeks. Catalogs. I loved when the ShopRite Consumers Distributing Eaton's Simpsons Sears catalog arrived, because the first thing you do was see what new toys there were for the season.
Well, maybe that's what you did. The first thing I did was
the underwear page. Yeah, I'm getting a really good impression of young Jason.
Ladies were wearing for 1979.
Did you have a medallion as a child?
That's where I went. Yes, as a matter of fact, I did. We all had chains. We all had. I'll send you a picture of me with a Star Wars T-shirt and an Italian chain around my neck with like a horn and a St. Christopher medal. We all did. Of course we did. So yeah, I got the catalog. Like, here, you can look at the toys. Okay, Mom. Then get to the underwear.
This has been eye-opening.
I'm sure I was the only kid in the world that did that.
This feels like a therapy session.
It's been a long one, that's for sure. I am paying you, so it's good. Yeah, I miss catalogs too.
Yeah.
I hear you, Brian. I hear what you're cooking.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Don't be coy with me. I know what you mean.
Okay.
Right to the toy page.
Right to the dolls.
Right to the dollies. Well, there you go.
That is.
Where else can you get that kind of information for free?
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and thank you for
still listening?
Supporting us for 10 years. It's insane.
Well, supporting you. Come on, let me just step back for a second. Supporting Brian Heiler and Plaid Stallions for 10 years. Plaid Stallions is one of the coolest sites.
But if I say us, I sound like an organization, not just a sad guy in his basement.
I'm sorry. I thought you were including me. I'm sorry.
Well, I was sort of was, but...
I don't want to take any credit. I just,
No, but anyway.
Plaid Stallions, there's a reason that I found it the day that I did. There's a reason that I reached out to you. And what I didn't add to the story, which I've told before, is when I reached out to you and said who I was, and you replied like the next day, you had said you had just gone out to buy the Flash Gordon figures. And for a guy who doesn't really get current stuff, that was, now I understand it, but it was like, holy cow. So I knew that you dug that stuff, but it was kind of ironic. You're like, oh my God, you're not going to believe it. I just bought your toys like 2
Well, what happened was on the weekend, I had taken, my son was just getting old enough to go to toy and comic shows. Mm-hmm. And so he was probably like 3 or 4, and I took him to this really kid-friendly comic show where they immediately gave him a page to color and, stuff to do, and it was kind of fun.
Cool.
And I wandered the dealer's room, which really, I don't collect comic books, but I like to be around the bric-a-brac and feel normal, and that was the one thing. There was one guy with action figures, and he had something I bought my son, which was Atomic Betty, which is a cartoon he liked, and then on the top of the shelf was Ming.
Okay.
And I went, oh my God. Like I'd read about the figures coming out in Toy Fair. I think Toy Fair was still a thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't, at the time, there were no comic stores, but nobody sold toys. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I'll never see that. And when I saw the Ming, I grabbed it. Yeah.
That's cool. But isn't that odd that, that just as I'm getting in touch with you?
It was very serendipitous. I'll say that. It was weird. But life is like that if you look for it. And I love that about it,
It's true. Life is like that.
Yeah. There's lots of fun coincidences.
yeah, so that kind of led to the friendship and now the partnership and the podcast and everything else. And I think you've got a little box of Big Bang Pow goodies on their way to you.
Ooh, fabulous.
So I hope you enjoy those.
I will, because they're the only toys in my house now.
Yay! That's your 10th anniversary present.
Fantastic. What is this?
And thank you. Unfortunately, it's all Holly Hobby.
Oh.
Thanks everyone for listening and giving us attention and continuing to listen and everything. And please
Love all the feedback. Keep it coming. Really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. And thank you, Brian. Congratulations on 10 years.
Woohoo!
It's 10.
I stuck to something. I got to call some guidance counselors and teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You showed them.
Yep.
Hopefully I'll be here for the 20th.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Then we'll really rant about how things are better in our day.
We'll just be holograms.
Yeah. Like Tupac?
Good evening, everyone. Or morning.
Oh.
That'll be great. We'll plan it. We'll start planning it now.
That we could do video by that point.
You think?
I think so.
Hey, let's not push it. It's 10 years.
Animation.
Let's not push
Claymation. Thanks, everybody. Oh, man, that was great.
That was good. Are you going to kill me if we can do the mini, tomorrow, maybe?
I think that would be in order because I got to go talk to the wife, and I'd love to recharge, and the mini's so easy to do.
Yeah, well...
You there? Oh, man, you're cutting out.
Wish this existed when I was a kid. I might get it or had to get it or whatever. Maybe something like that, or a couple things that we've seen that we're like, wow, that's... because we're not really... we like vintage... I don't know, whatever. We can do whatever you want, but...
Yeah, text me tomorrow, and we'll kick it back and forth. And, they're so easy to write that they're fun. So
Apologize to your wife, but tell her, just remind her I can't quit you.
Oh, she's fine. She's fine with that.
Okay.
She knows. All right.
All right, bye.
Have a good one. Take care.